It is, I did that in my village, and now we're doing things today.
Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Grays Lake, and it's a great day to celebrate the completion of this outstanding project. I'm proud to join with so many local leaders, community members, transportation advocates as we officially open the Washington Street Underpass. Now, this project touches Grays Lake, Haynesville, Round Lake Park, and Avon Township, and benefits many surrounding communities. Projects of this size require a lot of collaboration and coordination, and I want to acknowledge the local elected officials who are here. Mayor Rhett Taylor from Grays Lake, welcome, thank you, thanks for having us. Oh, there you go. There we go. That one. Got Mayor McGillis from Round Lake. We also have Kay Stroskovic from Grant Township, Sam Yingling, State Representative, and Grays Lake Trustee Elizabeth Davies. I'm also very blessed to have, we are all blessed to have a wonderful county board. My colleagues on the county board and I are very committed to transportation efforts, and this is just one example. And with us today is the Transportation Committee Chair, Andy, from District 21, and our own local member, Jeff Werfel. And Carol Calabresa, the County Board Vice Chair, is somewhere. There you go, hiding in the back. Alrighty. Well, the most important group that I haven't mentioned are our employees, our contractors, our consultants, anybody who works for Lake County DOT or with Lake County DOT, please raise your hand. These are the guys that do the work. We get to identify the projects. They're the ones that make it happen. Lake County's Division of Transportation manages $500 million in capital programming over our 5-year program to maintain, expand, and modernize our county highway system. And it's a plan that you can take to the bank because it's funded long-term and based on a long-standing commitment from the county board to invest 100% of our 0.25% sales tax dollars into our transportation system. When you add it all up though, Lake County is about to pass an important milestone coming up. We will soon have invested $1 billion in our transportation system since the 0.25% sales tax went into effect in 2009. Yes. Because without this revenue source, we would not be standing here today. Grade separations are arguably the most valuable improvement that we can make to multimodal intersections when it comes to safety and traffic mitigation. Just look here and out west to Rollins, the Rollins Gateway Project. They are, again, more efficient in reducing congestion and better at keeping our motorists safe by separating traffic flows of trains and cars. But they're also they're also the most expensive way to solve that problem. Opening in 2015, the Rollins project cost $43 million. Making it our single largest, most expensive project at the time. That year, when we announced it, it was larger than Cook County DOT's entire transportation program. And since then, since that project has opened up, it has been a game changer for Central Lake County, showing elected officials and residents what we can achieve if we invest our collective resources where they are going to have the biggest benefit to reduce traffic congestion, instead of fixating on who owns the road, whether it's a county road, a state road, a local road, or what political district it's in, where it can have the biggest benefit for our community. I'm going to close with this because transportation funding for projects like this is not something that we come across often. You see efforts at the state level frequently to not maximize the dollars that we get, to take some offline for other purposes. These are big, important decisions. The Chicago region has a $30 billion backlog in state of good repair needs just to keep our current trains and buses running depending on the current schedules. There's same staggering numbers for our roads and roadways that need to be improved in order to not face costly reconstruction. We need to think about these types of projects and what made them happen. And particularly, I want to thank our previous county engineers, Marty Bueller and Paula Trigg. I didn't see Marty, but Paula is here. You know, back in 2008, Marty Bueller brought forward the idea of the Challenge Bond program, that we were going to aggressively pursue a set of early projects that would show progress of the 0.25% sales tax dollars worth. And this is the last of those 4 projects. But it allowed us to really think beyond our own borders, to think about where we have the biggest opportunity to invest our dollars in a way to maximize transportation, maximize the system, and reduce gridlock. So I think that that's important as we leave here today. We open another great project, but we have a lot of work to do in advocating for the money that we need to grow our transportation system. And now I'd like to introduce Shane Schneider, our new, Shane Schneider, our new DOT director.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chairman Lawler. I'm excited to be here today as Lake County's newest member of the Division of Transportation team. I'm just wrapping up my 6th week on the job today and getting to know firsthand what a wonderful staff Lake County has working for them to complete great projects like this one. Before I get into the project specifics, and I know Chairman Lawler just mentioned this, but I do want to acknowledge 2 of Lake County's former county engineers. They deserve the credit for the vision and the hard work that went into bringing this project to fruition. So thank you, Marty Bueller and Paula Trigg. Then I have one quick project fun fact to start us off. It took over 2,300 cement trucks of concrete to build this project. So that's enough to fill about 6 Olympic pools or a football field 9 feet high with concrete. So maybe that's what happened to the Bears last night. The Washington Street Thoroughfare Project may appear to be one big project, but it was actually 2 separate construction projects with 2 key components. The first component was a roadway widening and reconstruction from Grandview at the west to Harrion Way at the east. And this had a construction cost of $13.5 million and widened Washington Street from a 2-lane section to a 5-lane section. In other words, from 1 lane in each direction to 2 lanes in each direction with a center turn lane. A 5-foot sidewalk and an 8-foot bike path were incorporated to benefit non-motorized users. They may be traveling to the Washington Street Metra station or other destinations. And although Lake County Division of Transportation was the lead agency on the project, it was completed in close coordination with partnerships at Avon Township, the Village of Haynesville, the Village of Round Lake Park, and the Village of Grays Lake. The second key component of this project is what's behind us here, or behind me, the Washington Street Underpass. This had a construction cost of $23.5 million, and over 16,000 vehicles travel Washington Street every day, and over 60 trains pass through on these railroad tracks every day. So the underpass removes this conflict between these 2 modes of transportation and eliminates a major congestion bottleneck for motorists. It will also, importantly, allow emergency responders to avoid these delays as well. One of the important considerations for this project was a potential future railroad expansion. The bridge abutments, which are the concrete landings on each side of the bridge structure, were designed and constructed to be wide enough to accommodate a second track. At a future time, when the railroad determines they need to expand, they can set the new bridge structure on these abutments with minimal interruption to the motoring public. So this was great forethought. And you may be wondering how we're going to keep rain out of this low area. Well, the DOT has installed their first pumping station, so this will lift the rainwater out to higher ground where it can just drain away naturally. We partner with our Public Works Department on maintaining this pump station. In addition to the underpass improvements, this phase of work also included widening Washington Street from 2 lanes to 5 lanes from Harry-on Way to Lake Street at the east, and also incorporated sidewalk and bike path accommodations. For this portion of the work, Lake County partnered with the Illinois Department of Transportation for federal funding, the Canadian National Railroad, which allowed us to work in their right-of-way to install the underpass improvements and to install a temporary bypass railroad track, which was a major construction feat in itself, and the Village of Breeze Lake for letting us use the Metra parking lot during construction, and also who incorporated some decorative elements into the project to match other areas of the village. So again, thank you to all of our partners on both portions of this project. And as of today, a new video has been posted to the DOT's website. It shows a timeline of the project being completed. We've got some great footage from dash cams that were taken before the project started, and then a time-lapse video taken during construction, and then recently drone footage was taken post-construction by our friends over at Lake County Stormwater Management. So that's up on our website today. Feel free to take a look and share it with others. As you can see, all lanes of traffic are open, and we're just finishing up a few minor touches. So we'd like to thank everyone for their patience during construction and remind you to drive safely. That concludes my comments on the project specifics, but there's still more to the Washington Street story. So I'd like to invite Ann Main, the chair of the Lake County's Public Works and Transportation Committee, up to tell us a little bit more. Ann?
Thank you. I guess they wanted a teacher to do the history part. Although I just want to start by saying, if I needed a new pair of sunglasses, this is a great view for like every type of sunglass that's out there. So, you know, everyone here has seen the progress, you know, from different degrees. And think of somebody new to the county today would get off and they would just drive and they go, wow, this is nice. And they wouldn't know the struggle, the history, everything going back. I think it's very appropriate, Mick, you're standing in front of Larry Leafblad right there. And my notes say that this goes back 25 years. And Larry was on the board back then, 25 years, 1992. So anyone who's been here, and it's often difficult for the public when a big project like this is started, because there's a little patch and they're like, oh, another bridge to nowhere, or wow, that sidewalk is doing nothing. And they don't see, because they don't have those plans there, they don't see the big picture, the long-term planning. And I think this project, as many others in Lake County, really go to the vision that people have had. And we've been very blessed in Lake County excuse me, to have so many people, our staff, our board members, who have a vision of how something could be better. And this project literally does go back 25 years. So this is what's happened. I wish I had a little video for you, but in the last 25 years, so many of the it was 2 lanes, as most of you know. Then it got to 5 lanes, except for the far western part where we just couldn't right of way, and existing traffic really didn't demand it. There were over 20 projects and some other minor ones that either Lake County built or in conjunction with IDOT, Gurney, federal aid to get this whole thing done. All of Washington Street project, over $150 million. And this investment in infrastructure really goes to the quality of life for our residents and for our businesses. You know, they want to know that their workers can get back and forth, and the people who want to live in these places want to know that they're not going to spend half their day sitting in traffic when they need to go pick somebody up and bring them to soccer practice. So there are a number of other obstacles for Washington Street. The railroad right behind us was mentioned, but there's also the tollway, the Des Plaines River. So it's like, wow, what else could you have? Railroads, tollways, rivers. So in 1969, the underpass between the Canadian Pacific Railroad to fit 4 lanes was built up between Eau Plaine and Greenleaf. In 1973, 2-lane bridges over the Des Plaines River, one for eastbound, one for westbound were put in. And some of you may remember way back in 1975, where a lot of people are like, what, Lake County, is that just part of Wisconsin or what? There was this little development that was built, and at the time it was called, bonus points here, Marriott Theme Park. That was the entrance. You may now know it as Six Flags Great America. A lot of traffic on Washington Street, the tollway, and in the whole area. Underpass was built beneath the tollway just west of Six Flags. That was by the toll authority. All right, for you long time, I won't say old, so those people who've lived here for a long time, some historians, previous names of Washington Street. East of 45, it was called, anybody? I'll help you. Grange Hall Road. West of 45, I go east and west. Nope, Bruce Lake Road. And then west of Lake Street?
Renahan.
Yes, Renahan. Give that man a prize, all right? So, although Lake County, the jurisdiction of Washington Street runs from Cedar Lake Road in the village of Round Lake to Green Bay Road, Illinois, Route 131, at the western edge of the city of Waukegan. Lake Dot did the traffic signal replacement, the ITS interconnect in 2008-2009 that goes from Green Bay Road back to Sheridan Road. So this improvement and traffic goes all the way to the lakefront. So there's a lot of great stuff here. Again, we just want to thank everyone. So this isn't just this last segment. This is like the silver spike in the Transcontinental Railroad. This is 25 years in the making. And so we have a beautiful day to celebrate this. But we're not done. What's up next? Got to be looking at the next 20 years. Our staff is already looking, how is technology changing? What about those driverless cars? How's Uber impacting how we use railroads and other things like that? So it's kind of, the king is dead, long live the king. The project's dead, what's the next one? And now we're just going to go to Jeff Werfel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me put my reading glasses on so I can see this. I've been given the task of thanking various people that have been more directly involved with the project. It may be a little hard to hear all this speechifying in the audience, even with the public address system, but I would say that's a good thing. If you couldn't hear us, I would mean all this traffic, as it has for many years, would probably be waiting on about a 100-car freight train to get through here. So the fact that you hear these cars whizzing by and it might be a little harder to hear the speechifying is actually a really good thing. It shows the success of what we've done. There are plenty of people that have contributed to this project, and this is my county board district. I wanted to thank real quick some of my predecessors on the county board. Representative County Board Member Maine had already mentioned Larry Leafblad, who's in the audience, who used to be the county board member here. Also Pat Carey, who was my immediate predecessor for District 6 on the county board. And also Melinda Bush, who's now our state senator, but she was a county board representative here. And all of them, during the genesis over the 25 years, as has been mentioned, have touched this project, supported it in some way. And I wanted to thank also former colleagues like Bonnie Thompson-Carter and Diana O'Kelly, who were previous chairman of the Public Works and Transportation Committee, and everybody else on those committees and the larger board, obviously. So I can't personally list everyone, although I was just trying to there. But I am going to give you a few company names and things like that. But most importantly, I want to thank the folks in the immediate area. We have Highland Lake neighborhood immediately to the west of us. We are adjoining or right next to Harrion Farms of Grays Lake right now. Neighborhood, and then obviously points beyond, we have Haynesville neighborhoods and Round Lake Park, all and Round Lake Beach, even all communities that. Oh, I'm sorry, in Round Lake at the end. Mayor McGillis is in the audience also from Round Lake. Apologize on that. But I want to thank everybody for their patience from that standpoint. I will be honest, over the past couple of years, of course, I've gotten comments from folks, particularly ones that live in the area, you know, it was an inconvenience. This is a big project, this was a big construction site, and there was definitely inconvenience for especially the residents that kind of live around it. But my counsel to them was always, be patient. When it's done, you're gonna love it, trust me. And I was busy hoping, boy, I hope they love it. When it's done, I hope we all love it. And so far, I've gotten absolutely no complaints, nothing but general positive feedback and happiness about it. It makes a huge difference in the quality of life, as Member Maine was talking about. You know, for local government like ours, we have a fundamental responsibility to do things like this. Make sure traffic moves, make sure the water is running, make sure your garbage gets picked up, make sure you have a police or a sheriff's department protecting you. Those are just fundamentals that ultimately we are responsible for. It's not necessarily sexy is what often comes up in conversation. Making a road improvement is not going to change the world or make some grand vision occur for folks, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is this really does make a huge difference in the quality of life for people. It's no fun sitting in traffic. It's no fun taking an hour to get to work when it should only take a half hour. So it can make a huge difference. So, with all that said, I want to thank our partners in the local municipalities and townships. Many of them are here today. I've already mentioned some of them, and they were thanked earlier also. I did want to mention there is another Grays Lake trustee here, Kevin Waldenstrom, along with Elizabeth Davies. He's out there. And right after me, the mayor of Grays Lake wanted to say a few words. That's Rhett Taylor. The men and women that were directly involved in this project, starting with Lake County Department of Transportation. For those of you that are not familiar with government jargon, when you hear speakers talk about DOT, Lake DOT, IDOT, IDOT, DOT stands for Department of Transportation. So those that need to be thanked are all the Great Lake County Department of Transportation staff that are here. The previous directors of DOT, Paula Trigg, Marty Bueller, who's a Grays Lake resident himself, staff at all the other local agencies, the engineering consultants, the construction contractors, the utility coordination, the railroad. As many of us know who've been in local government for a little while, the railroad may be the closest thing to the federal government in terms of massive bureaucracy and call it rights. Their rights go back to when the railroad lines were laid, and basically they've got primacy over everything is what you find out in local government. Nothing can get done unless you get in a project like this, it touches their lands and their lines. Nothing can get done unless they're okay with it. So I'd like to thank Railroad for that too. So some specifics, the Washington Street, the portion of this project from Granville to Herring Lane right over here. General contractor was Berger Excavating, and their numerous subcontractors, many of which are located here in Lake County. We try to have our government work and contracts utilize local county-based contractors, all part of a larger strategic direction of the county. We had resident engineer and inspection was done by Bollinger Locke and Associates, Darren Franzen and staff. Trans Systems was the project manager, and Patrick Engineering did the design for that section. For the underpass section here, which is Harrion to Lake Street to the east, and this is the big hole, the big trench. It's a pretty big project. The general contractor there was a joint venture of Berger Excavating and Lorick Construction. The resident engineer and inspection was done by B3, Matthew Powers and staff. Trans Systems was a project manager on the private side there, and Patrick Engineering did the design. And I did just meet some folks from HDR Design, who did some of the bridge railing work, some of the aesthetics, which are very nice. And again, when you have a project where you're spending for the underpass portion, $23 million. It's nice when it's all done that it looks pleasing to the eye aesthetically. So that stuff ends up being important too. That's all I've got to say. Thanks for all coming to this celebration of it. There is a lot more work to do. I'm very proud that here in District 6 and Central Lake County in general, the county has put so much investment into road improvements. So now we've finished Washington Street, we finished Rollins Road, a huge improvement in project with many of the same issues as this road, and railroad crossing, and the Peterson Road improvement. It's all wonderful. The next things that I look forward to working on are improvements to Route 120, the elephant in the transportation room, so to say, working closely with the state on hopefully making some things happen there also. Keep your fingers crossed. Last speaker is Mayor Rhett Taylor of Grays Lake, who would like to thank also for his tremendous involvement, and the village in general, of course. Thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to officially welcome you to the Village of Grays Lake. On behalf of the Village of Grays Lake, I'd like to say thank you to Chairman Lawler, the entire county board, the Lake County Department of Transportation, and all the contractors and workers who worked so hard and so quickly to make this possible. They did it in a very seamless and painless fashion for the residents. I can truly tell you I did not receive a single complaint about the construction process, so especially thanks to all of you who contributed to actually doing the digging and laying the paving and all of that. We really appreciate it. This is a fantastic example of intergovernmental agreement which the residents of Lake County really appreciate. The Lake County Board was very good at working with Grays Lake to incorporate our branding and our aesthetics into the structures you see. The pump house ties in with our architecture downtown. The bridge ties in with our architecture. They let us be involved in it, connecting our bike paths and sidewalks, and we really appreciate that and their openness to working with us. I'd like to also recognize somebody else who jumped in during a time of crisis to help out. The state has some challenges with its funding, and it was mentioned earlier that federal funding would come in to help this. Well, the federal funding got delayed through this bureaucratic mechanism, but I was on the phone in my house calling Representative Yingling, asking him to keep me updated on moving this to the General Assembly, and Representative Yingling got back to me right away and kept me updated on the whole process as they got that resolved. So Sam, you're here today. Thanks for your help. I want to do a special shout out that when I called Sam, he got right on top of it and helped us out there. So it's a good example of intergovernmental work with the village and the county, township, all the way up to our state level, and we really appreciate that. In addition to resolving traffic, this is a vital need for the Village of Grays Lake, because if you're familiar with our town, we're bisected by the railroad. There's been a lot of talk about the railroads. We're bisected by Canadian National Railway. And due to the increase in rail congestion, oftentimes our town can be completely shut down and we can't move from west to east. About 15 years ago, we built a fire station on the east side of town so that we could help with the safety needs of our community, so we never had the fire department locked in on the train. This project helps as well, because now we can move east and west at least on one route within the village and not be locked in. So this has made a vital difference to the safety of our community as well. So thank you for everyone who participated in that, because Grays Lake is actually safer today because of this project. Thanks for coming to Grays Lake, and have a nice weekend.
The market is complete. They tell me this is like your iPass. It's a little harder to click in. It's not like Metra.